So we need time systems.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a motion to approve tonight's agenda and the minutes from August 4th. June 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
School committee chairperson comments. Not much, but excited to hear the schools buzzing with kids again as the weather gets cooler and school committee heating up. Well, that's it. Excited to get things rolling. It was exciting last year and a lot more to do this year. Community comments. Is there any hands raised? I don't see anybody in the room, so.
I see no hands online.
All right. We'll move on to superintendent administrative reports.
All right. Well, it's hard to believe that we are back just a week away from the start of school, but we have a lot of updates in here that I'll go through where I like to remind people of what's upcoming for events and getting back into the swing of things. And part of that is I want to be able to introduce two members of our district leadership team. So I'll go one by one. So I'm going to have Dr. Frank Elbs come on up. Sit with me. I do a formal introduction. So this is Frank, and he is our new Director of Student Support Services since July 1 and has hit the ground running. Because I like to do a formal presentation of the bio for both of our individual. I'm just going to read through it and then I'll ad lib as I usually do. We've found Frank is a passionate instructional leader. He's committed to equity and social justice in his experience. He has over 15 years of experience in education. He's dedicated, student-centered, and known for his focus and strong sense of purpose. And I would say that is absolutely showing up so far. He holds a bachelor's of science in psychology, a master's of education in special ed, and a certificate of advanced graduate studies in education leadership, all from Bridgewater State. And he furthered his academic journey by earning a doctorate in education with a concentration in curriculum, teaching, learning, and leadership from Northeastern University, which is also where I went, so that's awesome. His research culminated in his dissertation, Discipline in Secondary Education, an interpretive analysis of restorative discipline in practice. And we're psyched about his background in restorative practices because it's something that is going to be in our plan to continue to work on. So he's going to help us with that, with his expertise. I didn't take that approach because I couldn't say the word. So I was like, I'll just do case studies. I could say that. Throughout his career, Frank has served in several key leadership roles. So he spent 6 years as a special ed administrator for Brockton Public Schools, 18 months as the interim executive director of special ed for Cambridge, and the past year was interim director of special ed for Framingham. And outside of his professional life, he lives in East Taunton with his wife, where he appreciates the quiet and now he gave me this language here, but relaxed pace of suburban life. He stays grounded through quality time with his adult sons and grandchild and enjoys outdoor activities like fishing and playing golf. And he's already signed on to be on the district Club Classic team. So I recruited him right away. But we've been...
Does he know about the other team members yet?
We didn't tell him we were in it to win it.
All right.
We're just in it to support the kids.
There we go.
I think her words were, it's just for fun.
They give a whole new meaning to best ball.
We get a little better under practicing. But it's been a joy having him on the team. we're just coming off of like 2 full days as a whole team with our district leadership retreat, a lot of hard work, but getting to know one another as well. And I'll turn it over to you if you want to say hello.
Hello. Excited to be here. A lot of work to do, a lot of great work to do. The team has been awesome. Superintendent's been great.
Nice.
She was excellent.
Getting a little money for
And I'm just really excited to be here. And I look forward to it. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on board. Super excited to have you on and see what you do with student support services. It sounds like you've kind of been all over the place, Brockton to Cambridge to Framingham to, this is like the smallest district.
Yeah, and it's, to be honest, I'm really liking the small district feel because it feels very comfortable, very friendly, and you really get to know the people you're working with very closely. So it's been awesome. It's been an amazing trip so far.
Definitely.
I have to say the special needs kid or the parents that I met with before. I was very excited.
Good.
So
And I've already heard that you started looking into getting CPAC starting up and running again. So all good things.
questions, comments?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next up, the introduction train, we have Ms. Ann Corrin, our new principal for Misco Hill Middle School. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing, read through and try to embarrass her a couple times. So Ann's career is a testament to her deep commitment to education and to students. She had 20 years of experience locally in Sutton. She actually grew up in Sutton, went to Sutton, began her career there, Spanish and world language teacher for 16 years. And then she led various extracurricular clubs, including student council, world language, and many more. And then she moved into the assistant principal role and helped lead them through COVID and was quickly moved into the principalship and served there as principal for the last 4 years. A lot of things came up when we had our interview process with her and reference checks and all the, meeting with her and all the questions that we had. So she's proven to be a strategic and effective leader. She successfully has strengthened curriculum instruction and is a champion for safe, inclusive, and student-centered school culture. What stood out in the interviews was the student-centered nature and also the culture building that she does, which was definitely something that our groups were looking for when we were looking for the next principal. And then it was just bonus that she had experience with transforming science instruction with Open SciEd, which is something that we have been looking into as part of our reviews. She launched MyCap at the middle school, which is something we have at the high school and have been looking to explore expanding to the middle school. So she has experience with that. She also, there's a Project 351 in the Celtic Playbook Initiative, and she has lots of leadership experience with that with students and programming related to that we haven't really taken advantage of in our district yet, but I'm pretty excited with the fact that she's had this experience there. And she's also, we're noting is the data-driven approach. We had some activities and, brainstorming different steps and action planning. And she was just like last week and we're in it and we're looking at it and working together on how we can support our students. She also has a lot of experiences with restorative practices as well, which we have been developing the last couple of years at the middle school. But I'm excited with the combination of both and with Frank, with their experience to be able to bring that in. What stood out, another thing, I said student-centered, so I already said that. She believes in strong relationships are the foundation of meaningful learning, and it's a philosophy she lives every day. We learned from the interview process that you will regularly find her interacting with students in our office, navigating through peer conflicts, checking in on an anxious student, being in classrooms, being visible, and supporting, our students. And was just down at the athletics, learning about, Misco athletics just before here. So really fortunate to have her on our team and at the helm, and I know she'll do great things for our students, staff, and community. I was a little more serious.
I mean, I couldn't have done that much. I'm only 28, right?
I like to write it out because I don't want to miss like the good stuff, but it's been what I had noted after like our retreat and work last week is it felt like she's been part of the team, has just, naturally come in, and it's only been a little over a month for both of them, and we're deep in the work to get ready for the start of the school year, but we can just fitting right in with everyone in all work, so we're excited. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm really excited and grateful to be here. Like, this was a big shift coming from somewhere where I had spent my entire career. But it's a great fit, a great community. Everyone has been super helpful, supportive, appreciated all the guidance and really settling in well. And it's starting to feel like home already. And I'm so happy for that. I can't wait to meet the kids and the families next week.
Questions, comments?
Well, I just want something very important, right? Because someone's a big rival.
I know. I talked to the kids about this when I came from
I
my
don't know how you're gonna do this, but you gotta kind of change your
I know.
mindset.
I'm really happy that I can still wear green here,
There you go.
but I'm ready
It
for
is
it. I'm up to the task.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, on board.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
And we love data conversations.
Yeah, we do. We do. All right, so jumping into back to school preparations, a few district updates I like to share. And all of this, we're starting to get everything up on the website. Within the next couple of days, we'll have everything up there so people can refer to that. But our teachers and staff return for opening day and PD on Monday, the 25th, and we have building-based days on next Tuesday. The first day of school for grades 1 through 12 is on Wednesday, the 27th. Then we have the first day of kindergarten, and then following week we have the first day of preschool. Our bus schedules will be released this week. We have a pretty solid draft right now. We, I don't know if you recall, but Mo Coburn, who was our coordinator, she retired last year. So we have someone new in the role. And with the change, we're kind of updating the look of the bus routes. So we've been working on it the last couple days, and hopefully try to get some times in there and have that on the website in the next day or so and out to everybody. So we're excited about that. We have the fall sports information night took place. It typically has fallen this same night as the school committee meeting. I asked that they moved it up to 6 instead of 6:30. So hopefully it's not as much of a conflict for us, but they had that for Misco and Nipmuc tonight. Jumping to middle school in my notes, we have on the 20th, the summer social. It's welcoming incoming 5th grade students. It's for students to meet their new peers, explore the school. We'll have some Misco fun, as it says in the advertisement. And also during that day at 1 to 2, any students that are new to Misco can come for a tour. And student schedules are going to be released at Misco this week. Clough Elementary School, we have on the 20th. There's a lot taking place on the 20th. So in a couple of days, the kindergarten meet and greet. We have popsicles on Clough Playground for grades 1 and 2 from 5 to 6 on the 21st. And then grades 3 and 4 will be from 6 to 7. They'll also be hosting a new families welcome at 3 o'clock. Usually that involves like an overview and little tours of the school. On September 4th, there'll be a welcome back picnic for everyone, and make sure you sign up for the Club Classic and see if you can be the district team. You didn't even laugh at that.
I did. I smiled.
I gotta work on my
Try not to be
delivery.
impolite.
Yeah, I have to work on my delivery.
High score doesn't always win.
I think there should be a prize for last
Spirit.
place for participants or I don't know, something, just I want a prize. But classroom placements are available in Power School since last week at Clough. And then jumping to Memorial, and since Wendy's here, feel free to jump in, but we have a kindergarten play date scheduled on the 23rd, and there's a new to Memorial parent information night at 6 o'clock on the 25th. Anything else to throw in there? No? Okay. And Nipmuc High School, we have 3 days of Nipmuc band orientation, which is with that taking place the next few days, that's why the sports night is tonight, because they can't conflict. And we have open house taking place where students can come in from 10 to 12. For those who have seniors, you have the senior sunrise will be on the 26th at 6 a.m. on the front field, and schedules have already been released in Power Square as well. Questions on any of those dates?
Are MISCO, I know Memorial's classroom placements are released, or is MISCO's schedules posted already too, or are they still?
MISCO is this week. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this week. There's a lot more that goes into the MISCO one probably than all of the schools, with electives and balancing, et cetera. So they usually comes out about the week before. Good question. Any other questions related? All right, so that, if it's not on websites, it's going to be up in the next couple of days. We're going through all of the newsletters and making sure we're getting it all into the calendar so people can access that easily. We have a school choice accounting we always do right before the start of the school, where we'll say if we have any openings left. And we'd say like, oh, in this grade, we have 2 left or 3 left. And we actually don't have any openings at this point in the year. We have filled majority of our openings. And right, so school choice is closed. After announcing it at this meeting, then we make sure it's up on the website if people are calling and trying to call. But it was a pretty smooth process this year. It was our second year of kind of switching to a district model on the school choice. We're still working through some kinks, communications on that, but we've been getting better every year. If you recall, last year, I started putting in a grant update into all of the school committee meetings, because it is part of the school committee's responsibility to be aware of all the grants that are coming in. And so I just have it like in every agenda just to make sure you're aware. I want to thank Cheryl for all of her hard work on getting the Student Opportunity Act grant again. We put in for 150, we got 100, which is awesome, because, and she'll talk about it as we go on in the school year with more details, but it's highly competitive, and not everyone got it. So it's really going to help us out a lot with continuing some of the work that we had the last few years. Through Ally, we talk about our applied Learning Leadership Institute work that we've had at the middle and the high school. And we have a grant extension that was offered to us to have more money for supporting the work at MISCO. And so I'm excited about that. And Green Communities Community Grant. We might talk about this later on when we get into the building, project updates. But for our management system, energy management system, we just were notified that we're receiving $124,715, which will offset that. I keep almost saying emergency management system because it says EMS, but like the energy management system, the building management system. So that's really exciting. We just were notified of that within the last week.
So is that building management, like
Yeah.
the HEMS?
Yeah.
We're using the EMS acronym now, is the EMS which we used all last year.
It was the EMS because of the
Energy
grant.
management system.
It's related. But it's
It
building,
is.
it's the
the
building
computer
management.
system that controls all the HVAC stuff.
Yeah,
They've got lots of acronyms. Let's go.
but in the grants, it's for the energy management, but we've been calling it building management.
Okay, so it is the same thing.
It is the same.
Okay.
Yeah. The Whole Kids Garden Grant, we received $3,500 for supporting the Clough Garden, which we've received different grants over the many years, close to a decade, to support the garden that they have at the school there. And then we finally did receive the federal grant allocation, the entitlement grants, and I just listed them all there. We have a little bit more than $67,000 for Title I. That is down. It's usually we get a little bit more, but it's around the same amount. Title II goes down just about every single year from the time that I was doing it. So it's a little bit more than 28,000. Title III is new to us last few years, so that's an addition, which is nice, about 10,000. And then Title IV has been since they brought in Title IV, it's been 10,000 every single year. And then the two related to student support services, we have IDEA, the 240 grant for $545,693, and then the 262 grant for $22,000. I figured I didn't need to go over like what all of those grants are tonight, but just to give you a sense of the amounts that came in. We have been told when I went to sessions, I think I may have mentioned this in our workshop, but that we should not expect receiving title grants next year. That was kind of the updates from federal people who follow things federally. But it was already allocated this year. And so it just it was put on hold and wasn't released. And then they just released it. And we just learned about it just recently. But especially like Title II, that 28,000, which goes to like our mentoring and professional development and some of our systems that support that. I would imagine that would be cut under what they tell us. All right. Good news overall. So now we're going to jump into we usually do like the summer maintenance, just to give you a rundown of all the awesome work that's been taking place in the buildings. I linked in kind of like the full report we have, and then Jay has a presentation just to kind of give some highlights for some of them. He's not going to go over every single one that's in the long list, but if anything jumps out, we can do our best to answer questions for you. Jay, do you want to come on up? Oh, there you are, right here. And then after, he'll give an overview of the state update.
Welcome back, everybody. It's so long. All right, so for summer maintenance, I tell you that probably the biggest project they had to accomplish this year, you can't see it up there, so was the smart board. So as you know, we purchased smart boards with some available money from last year's budget. 75 of them, they came on carts. They come with a cart, so they're no longer going to be mounted to the wall like that screen is right there. Purpose of that is that way you can move them into small group type settings. You can move them around. And one of the things that we've always ran into was, oh, this teacher's moving from this classroom to this classroom, so let's move the smart board. And that's really quite an undertaking. So they had to remove all the smart boards off the existing walls, take the hardware off, patch the walls, and then assemble all of these cards. So it was quite a bit of work on top of their regular work that they did. They did get it all done. I think we're just finishing up at NISCO now. I think there's a few more to be removed. So that was a big project as far as, you know, the maintenance staff. It's not their expertise to assemble smart boards. So that was one piece. Now, each school, I'm not going to read through all these lists. Each school, these are pretty standard things that they do every summer: cleaning the boilers, inspecting the kitchen equipment, the fire alarms, the eye wash stations at the high school. They do all these things every year. You can see when you come in on the first day of school, the floors are all nice and shiny because they've waxed all the floors. They shampoo all the carpets. The last thing on this list says repair speaker and auditorium. Truth be told, that will be happening tomorrow. It's been out of order for quite some time, and it's taken us this long to get somebody to come in and do it. They have to bring in a lift, bring the speaker down because it's pretty heavy, replace the speaker inside, and then bring it back up. Then keep going, lots of other things, plumbing, you know. The maintenance staff basically goes through the building looking for anything that's wrong and tries to fix it that they find. If there's a leak somewhere, if there's a faucet that's not working well, they change the valves in the faucets. They hang up new dispensers for paper towel, for soap if they're broken. In this building, and I believe at probably Clough Memorial, we had a grant we wrote with BVT in the two towns to get this cantilever lift that you can use to get up to it. We borrowed that for about 3 weeks. They were very cooperative in sending it over. Ken has been going around and they've been going up to replace all that. And in this building, they also straightened out all those flags, the banners that are on the posts that say, I don't even know what they say. They must say high school. But they tend to, you know, move around and stuff. So they refixed all that stuff up as well. Same thing at NISCO. You know, clean the boilers. We have to pump the septic system there. They do that at Clough, and we try to do that when school's out, just because it's not the most pleasant thing to have done when kids are in the building. We replaced a couple of kitchen appliances in the cafeteria there. They move. Ken finds every year there's outlets that are broken, light switches that are broken, again, faucets, all kinds of things like that they go around and move. We are in the process of installing the energy management system at NISCO right now. So they had to work with that as well, and part of that is replacing some damaged ceiling tiles, because when they take them out, if you've ever done that at home, they don't always come out as easy as you thought they would, and they tend to break. We did replace flooring in one classroom, kind of separate from the capital project, in a special ed room up on the, I think they call it the D wing, just because the carpet was disgusting up there. They waxed the floors. The EV charging stations, you can see the infrastructure at Nipmuc is in here. They're obviously, if you go by Misco, you can see they're working on those right now. We did put an air conditioning unit in one of the classrooms that special ed was using over the summer. It's a good thing we did. It was an exceptionally hot summer. They kind of redid the playground wood chips, and you can see them out every day doing landscaping at all 4 schools. I mean, we go out for lunch and they're out there doing stuff. Same thing at Clough. The biggest project at Clough is we finally did do the work on the potable water tank, which is in the front of the building. So what was involved there is we had to empty the water out. Company came in and they recoat the inside because there was some rust, and it's a steel tank. So they kind of refurbish it all. Then we had to bring water in, chlorinate it, run it through the building, take it out again, bring in more water, chlorinate it again. Then DEP had to come back and do all of its inspections. We're 90% done with that project now, but that's been something we've been working on for at least a year. We kind of went back and forth whether to refurbish this tank or put in a new tank. Unfortunately, the difference was a couple $100,000, which meant we refurbished the existing tank. You know, the goal would be to get a fiberglass tank so you don't have to do this anymore. But that was done. They did all the smart boards there. They've been same kind of things, you know, kitchen equipment, waxing the floors, shampooing the rugs. At the gym, I don't know if it was the same at Memorial, but there's a divider that comes down in the middle. Some of the pulley systems had to be replaced. They had to replace a circuit for the generator. Just, again, basic maintenance stuff. This is what our guys do all summer. At Memorial, ironically, is in probably the best shape of our 4 buildings. And I don't know what the difference is between Memorial and Clough, because they were built at the same time with the exact same equipment. So I would credit it to Wendy. I think she does the right thing to keep
I
it
just
going.
want to give a huge shout out to my custodial
Yeah.
staff. They are like top notch, best in the business. They do a phenomenal job.
I would agree. Same thing though, smart boards, changing filters. Now the filters we did in all 4 buildings, we do them every summer and change all the HVAC filters. We're still using what's called MERV 13, 15. I don't know what MERV we're up to now, but they're the filters we put. Then they just move classrooms around. They same kind of work. They've done a lot of work to try and get the buildings ready. I think when you walk around, you can tell what they've done, and they do a really good job at all 4 schools. We've got some really good people in good places. So that would be your summer project. I don't know if you have any questions related to that.
For the Misco Hill prep area for new transformer, where did we land with that?
Well, so with the transformer, I'm sort of having a slight debate with National Grid because they sent me a bill for $55,000 for the transformer. And I went back and said, I don't understand, why are we paying for this? And they said, because you asked us to replace it. So I sent them pictures of the old ones and basically said, well, when this spills, are you going to take care of this? Because this will be a real mess. So they're kind of waiting and trying to figure out who's going to pay for that. As far as the location for the transformer, it's going to go when you first come into the building. To come around to the front, there's a grassy area over there. That's where the transformer will get placed. And then we have to run conduit from there into the building to connect. The generator potentially could go there as well, but now I think the feeling is that the generator is probably going to go near where we park in the back for the district office. There's a grassy area right next to the building, and they'll run the piping over the roof and down into the building to connect it there. That's all in the process, but right now we're kind of in a holding pattern on the transformer because, quite honestly, I think National Grid should be paying for it and not us. I mean, that typically is the policy is they pay to the meter, we pay from the meter forward. The meter is certainly beyond the transformer. But I haven't gotten an answer and I have to follow up on that. I just haven't had a chance yet. But that's the locations out there, and we'll have to put bollards or probably a fence around it or something so nobody can go in there and climb on it.
Yeah. Sounds good. Is that a brand new, concrete pad next to the parking lot? Administrative parking lot in Muck?
Out, that's for the transformer for the EV charging.
Okay.
Yes, and that's where, so we originally had hoped to put the 2 EV charging stations right on the first 4 spots.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that because 3 of the spots, the gas line comes underneath there, and they chose not to dig a hole and fit a gas line. You know,
Good idea.
right. They did actually cut through the wire that connects the sign out there, but they're gonna fix that. So I think we have a temporary fix, but DigSafe comes out, and if you've ever had DigSafe come to your house, they basically stand at the transformer and point your meter and says, well, I think it goes like that. That's about as good as it gets. They don't really give you an exact location. So we had a little snafu there, but that's what that pad's for. You can see the piping is in and everything, and I think they should be all in and ready to go. I'm saying probably within 4 weeks. It's been a couple of weeks they've been working on it. Anything else exciting related to this?
The items that we've done over the summer that are part of, maybe we'll get to this.
Yeah,
Part of the
we have
capital.
another- Yeah. we have
Do we
another-
just work out of working capital, then we'll kind of reimburse the working capital?
As far as paying for the stuff that we've done so far, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, right now we've had to put some money out. We will be doing our borrowing next month. So we should have money in probably by the end of the month. And well, we can get to that. I think
Yeah.
that's further down the
Yeah.
agenda. I don't want to get
Steal
waters.
the, yeah, steal the.
Steal your thunder, that's
Right.
right.
You wanna do the state budget?
All right, state budget.
around today?
I kind of gave you a little bit of a chart of what has transpired. There's a couple of things that have happened. Chapter 70, as you know, went up to $150 a student, bringing in an extra $44,450. Transportation, we got a whopping increase of $5,000 from the governor's budget, $49,44. But the $1,725,000 is really good. Because it was $1.5 million last year. Now, it turns out we ended up getting about $1.7 million. We got a couple $100,000 more than we anticipated in FY25, which helps a lot, but they were consistent this year. The charter school, it's a number there. It's pretty close to the governor's number, but quite honestly, by the end of the year, that number is going to change. So that's basically what they're telling us the revenue is. And then the tuition, of course, went up to correspond to the revenue going up, and they'll kind of even itself out. Bottom line is we're getting about $150,000 more in state aid, which, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's $150,000. So it's more than nothing. Now, the other thing that has happened that can help us either this year or next year, and it depends on how things go, is DESE is paid out what they call a supplemental circuit breaker payment. It says FY25 on the payment sheet. We received it middle of July. Initially, I credited it to FY25 because it says FY25, but then I was told by DESE, no, it's actually can be considered FY26 money, and you can carry that over to FY27. So right now, we are not going to use it in FY26. I'm going to repost it back in FY26 and try to carry it over. Now, if it turns out something happens during the course of the year that we have to tap into that, we have it available and we can, but if we can carry it over, it will probably help us for FY27 as far as keeping our budget balanced and seeing, you know, see how we can manage things. So that's been very helpful. I've been working, aside from the state budget, I've been working with the Department of Revenue on certifying E&D. I submitted everything on Wednesday. They had some questions. They wanted me to change a couple of things. I started working on that. We've had some internet issues, so I haven't been able to do what I want, but I did a lot of it this afternoon. I'm going to finish it tomorrow. We probably will be able to get it certified by the middle of next week, I think. It looks like it's going to get certified around where it was last year, about $1.5 million. I don't know exactly yet because I haven't finalized all the stuff I had to do. But they've been very helpful. They seem to like the way we handle our finances. They tell me all the time that they tell other districts to call us when they have questions because we do it right. My attitude is I do what they tell me. So if that makes it right, I guess it's good, right? I learned a long time ago that if the Department of Revenue tells you to do something, you just do it. Okay. Questions on that?
Good news.
You know, I'm hoping, I shouldn't say this yet, I suppose, but, it'd be great if we didn't have to do an override next year, and anything we can do to move in that direction, I think is beneficial, and that's what I think I'm gonna work on for most of the year.
Great.
That was me for now. Maybe I'll just stay here.
It's been a busy week.
I need one of those seats that lifts you up, right? J launcher.
All right, so that concludes the district administrator updates. What's the new business then?
New business.
Oh, geez, I
Yes, on to new business. Sorry, school handbook updates for 2025-2026 school year.
We do have a brief presentation that has some like high level points that the administrators will be talking about. I know we're gonna bring in Liz.
I think this is already,
Is she
it says
there?
Liz is already.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good, she's with us.
The voice
All
from
right.
above.
You wanna sit at this table?
Can we?
Yeah. You can sit wherever you want. Or sit over here. Here. Where's
We could bring that table.
Well, we are very formal. Once he pulls it up, I'm gonna do a brief overview on one of the items. One thing we've been trying to work on over the last number of years is trying to have some consistency just in the formatting of our handbooks. They're not all identical or anything, but we're talking about how we're trying to create, some with tabs and similar headings, and we're chipping away. And I really appreciate all the hard work that goes into handbook revisions, because these are big documents, they're legal documents. Part of the way the law is for school committee, the 9 through 12 handbooks, if there are any substantive changes, you would need to vote on it as a school committee, and I put the legal reference in there. But we always want to be as transparent as possible with all of our handbooks, and it's a good opportunity for you to just be aware, especially if we have larger changes that might be coming forward. So we'll always have a presentation unless there's nothing really, big changing in a handbook. So that's their opportunity. We also get some information from legal, like you could have policies that you have changed, and then we need to make adaptations within the handbook, or we go through like a tiered focus monitoring review, and they say, okay, this needs specific, anti-bullying language, this way needs to be in the handbook, and we'll update it as we go. So if you could go to the next slide. One thing, there was some Supreme Court decisions that came out, and this language right here is going to be added into all of the handbooks, and it deals with a Supreme Court case that came out on June 27th. It was called Mahmoud versus Taylor, and it was about whether or not families with deeply held religious reasons can opt out of certain types of curriculum materials. And what was recommended to us in the state was just to make sure that we have a statement of what we believe about having inclusive materials in our curriculum, which we have in the statement. And also any parent, if they had just needs for accommodations for their students, and had a question about curriculum, the first step that they would go to, sometimes they might ask the teacher, but would go to the building principal, and that's what this states. And so we made sure that we took the language from legal and put that in all of our handbooks. We're waiting on guidance just from DESE and from the state on if there are any other additional guidance that we need to have, or procedures and protocols, but wanted to make sure that we had it in the handbooks. So that was my part of the presentation, and then we'll jump into the elementary cell phone guidelines, which I think you're going to speak to.
Yeah, and so I just kind of bulleted the higher level pieces of what we did here. Both Clough and Memorial are adding a guideline section about cell phone use with our students. It's hard to believe because they're so young, but over the past several years, we've had a tremendous increase of the number of older elementary school students who are carrying some kind of device to school, whether that be a cell phone, a smartwatch that has the capability to make phone calls, not just like mine's just a Wi-Fi, that a lot of them actually can make calls from their smartwatches. And so we've been kind of dealing with these on more of a case-by-case basis for several years. And so we decided to move towards something closer to what the middle school and high school are using. The language is very similar. Basically, it just informs families that you can send your child to school with a cell phone, but it needs to be off and away during the school day, during learning time. And it's really just establishing a consistent protocol for when the device is not off and away, meaning that there's clear consequences for multiple infractions. So the first time it's, taken away, given back at the end of the day, a verbal reminder. Second time, the parent will need to come pick it up. And then the third time, we would have to meet with the parents to determine whether the device should continue to come to school. And I'm pretty sure that's consistent with what the middle school is doing. So it's a nice segue into that transition.
And I can jump into just related to cell phones. There is a pending state legislation that hasn't gone through, but it may have gone through part of the process, right? Yeah, so, but not entirely where, they're gonna ban it and they're gonna come up with a lot of rules we have to follow on how we enforce it. And we'll deal with that when that happens. But I think I looked at the language that was, in process right now. And for the most part, we're adhering with the regulations that we have, that hopefully it won't be a drastic, change, but that will take time for us to get anything from the state. But I think it's very reasonable language that we have in all of our handbooks that we'll speak to.
Pains me a little bit that this is
Me too.
fourth graders.
I held off. It's as young as like second. So yes, it definitely is. It's something that I kind of held off on, but a parent actually mentioned to me this year, well, there's nothing in your handbook that says anything. So I was like, you know what, you're right. It might be time. So
What is it? Do you have an opinion of how people are looking at it for kids that young? Are they looking at it as a tracking device or just a communication device? Just the ability to reach out whenever they want.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sense of it, and I think everyone's used to that now.
Yep.
I could see a benefit of knowing how far the bus is.
there's a lot of benefits to tracking your children, but that's another
Just
story.
so I know, do I have to leave now in 5 minutes?
Exactly.
But
See, here you can still do that because it'll be in the back.
Yep.
Right, and you can still track that. But yeah, no, those are good questions. All right, next slide. So this goes to you, Liz.
So I'll chime in, and I just, thanks Wendy for sharing about the new guidelines. We definitely have it also in the Clough handbook, and it is, I know, I hear what you're saying of like, can't believe it that young, but we definitely had a lot of issues over the past couple of years of kids communicating directly with parents and parents showing up at the school, and we had no idea that the child had texted them. So I'm grateful that we have that language in there now. And sorry I couldn't be there, but I wanted to chime in and say I'm grateful that I didn't know Frank is a golfer because I just had hip replacement surgery. So I don't think it's in my physical therapy to do the Clough Classic this year. So I'm glad that Frank can take my place. So the biggest change for us in our handbook is just really like our staff. I wanted to mention this, that they've been working hard this summer on kind of a revamp of our PBIS system. And so this is just a portion of what's like a change in it, but we redid our behavior matrix. We've already had this in place, but we just updated a lot of the language, and we tied in the portrait of a learner competencies as well. And the staff, I'm excited because next week staff are going to be presenting to the rest of the staff the new rollout plan. And then we also created kind of a separate obviously the handbook, this handbook, is shared with parents, and the expectation is that they read through it. But we actually created a separate, very specific behavior handbook for parents that we'll be sending home with kids so that, we can get them on board with us to help support this new and improved behavior expectations at Clough.
This is great. I'm gonna put these bathroom rules. There's no-
And feel free to take that for your whole.
Yeah, well, and I'm excited because we have all new signage. It just came in. It looks so awesome across the whole school. Like we went with the superhero theme. We just redesigned. And again, I credit the staff. They worked really hard this summer. And we have like a new school pledge, and it's just I'm pumped to roll this out with the kids. And I think they're gonna love it. And it's just gonna be a great year. Thank
Questions
you.
on that? No?
Sorry, I can't be there in person.
Okay, you're still with us.
Hope the recovery is going well, Liz.
It's good. I just can't drive yet.
Okay, we're gonna jump to the middle school.
Yes, so coming into a new school, I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Cuomo and the administrative assistants to carefully review the handbook and update the information, tweak the procedures, tweak the language so it reflects the current practices at MISCO. So the first thing was on page 11, we updated the dismissal procedures. So now these reflect the actual procedures that our office staff follows. On page 31, we added a section for eligibility for after-school activities that mirrors athletic eligibility. The goal of the expectations is to ensure that all students are supported in making school engagement in and out of the classroom positive, meaningful, and successful. So in order to remain eligible for extracurricular involvement, students are expected to meet academic and behavioral expectations, and students who fall below those expectations will have some interventions that we can put in place to help them get back on track and resume those extracurricular activities. On page 36, we also updated the cell phone guidelines for middle school. And basically, cell phones are off and away during the school day. So from 8:05 to 2:40, students won't be able to access their cell phones. I think the one major change is that students can't access their cell phones in the hallway, at lunch, at recess. So we're keeping the focus on learning, we're eliminating distractions. Students have their iPads, so they shouldn't really have a reason to need their cell phones during the day. And then if they need to communicate with home, they're always welcome to come to the office and use our phone there, and vice versa. If parents and caregivers need to get in touch with their students, they can always call the office and we will make sure that they get the message. We also added some clarity around consequences too. So if you have a first offense, we get two chances at middle school of like you turn your cell phone into the office and you can get it back at the end of the day. On the third offense, the caregiver will have to come and pick up the cell phone at the main office. And then we talked about some subsequent consequences. If this is a recurring issue, things like phone restriction, communication with home, and restorative practices. Because at that point you start to say, you're having a problem keeping your cell phone away. How can we support you and help you break that habit? On page 37, we added some guidance for appropriate technology use, and that's aligned with the acceptable use policy, but it kind of addresses more middle school specific behaviors that we encounter more regularly, like using your iPad for educational uses only, being on approved sites, not sharing your passwords with other students, because those are typically things we run into in middle school and are consistently having conversations with students about. And then I think the biggest shift was we updated the general disciplinary guidelines in relation to Mass General Law 37H and 3/4. We updated and streamlined the format, the way it's presented. So we maintained the same behaviors, but what we did was instead of having like, okay, so you were late to class, these are the consequences, we created a menu of consequences. So in the menu, you have restorative measures, reflective measures, and informational measures. So as administrators, we have a little bit of flexibility in having conversations with students and providing some interventions for behaviors. Because at the end of the day, we want our kids to make good decisions. We want them to learn from these conversations that we're having and ultimately change their behavior. So we went more of a menu route, and that gives us options in case we need to take discipline conversations to the next level, that we can say, well, we tried these interventions, we tried these restorative practices, these reflective practices, and these informational practices, but we're still seeing the same behavior. So now we have to have a different conversation with families. So that was something that I've implemented before and it's been really successful. So we're going to give it a try at MISCO. It definitely provides us the opportunity to be flexible when we're working with students. We can meet students where they're at. tailor our interventions or alternative remedies to meet their specific needs. We've also added a couple new behavioral interventions too. One is the structured day and another one is social restriction. So structured day would, if we have an issue in the hallway or something like that, we can restrict the unstructured times in school. So students would still be able to access their academics. They go to all their classes, but they spend the more unstructured times under a little bit more close supervision in the office. And then we're going to add social restriction as well. So if we have, if we have a situation where we need to, the student can't participate in after school activities, go to an athletic event or go to a social event as a consequence, that is something we can implement too. These are age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate interventions and supports that help students learn from their mistakes rather than solely just heading right to exclusionary practices. At the middle school level, we want to focus on their learning and their growth, so this helps us do that. And additionally, we want to make sure that students are treated consistently and also considering their individual circumstances that may affect their behavior. And ultimately, our goal is to create a safe and supportive environment that balances accountability with strategies to maintain a positive learning environment. So that's kind of our thinking and rationale behind just adapting that section. So now it's not a huge list, it's a little bit of a different format, but it has all the same information.
Elementary school parent here, how much unstructured time do middle schoolers have?
Well, the majority is lunch and recess.
Okay.
Right. We don't have passing time in our schedule at the middle school, but like time in the hallways, it can, that's a non-structured period. Lunch is unstructured and recesses as well. So those are the times in the day where things tend to pop up.
So are all the restorative interventions in the handbook now, they're all brand new?
No,
Okay.
no, I took them from the, I guess the grid that was in the previous handbook and then classified them as restorative, reflective, and informational, and added a couple too.
It was very, just to speak on the history of it, it was very regimented of this happens and this happens, this happens, this happens. And there wasn't a lot of flexibility. And I will say, like, over all the years, different administrators have like tried to tackle tweaking the language within the grid. And what was kind of amazing, I have to say, she came in, she said, I have a whole nother way that we can do this, and showed it. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a lot.
Yeah, and I talked to
and talked about how, I asked questions about how you did that previously and how that works, like at the most level. And I think it allows us to add in more of the practices too and options, which we've been trying to expand as well.
We shared this with our department chairs at our department chair meeting last week, and they were really excited about it. And like having some like in between practices that we can employ to help kids change their behavior. That's a wrap. Cool.
Sounds good. We need some votes here.
Not for the elementary.
Not
no.
the elementary.
And then, so yeah, just for the high school, they're not here tonight because there weren't any substantive changes. The only thing that was a change was the language that I shared, because that is a change across all. I do think that it makes sense to just have you vote. That way it's official that you reviewed that.
And also there were some really substantial changes, not this summer, but last summer
Right.
that went in place, and they were wonderful. So
And it isn't typical that you would have like large changes in the handbook every year, but then sometimes there'll be new laws that come in, or you've noticed something and you've been working on it for a number of years. And then, for example, we're finally making this change at the middle school handbook, but I've been looking at it and tweaking it over the years. Yeah. So we just need a vote on the high school.
yeah, I move to approve the high school student handbook for 2025-2026.
There's a motion to approve the Nipmuc High School Handbook 25-26.
A quick question. Did they ever enter the class rank stuff in to the
Yes.
handbook?
Yes.
So you can't search on it. All right.
That's right.
On page 14.
There we go. Wow. See,
That's somebody's reviewed this. That's what she does to me in policy. It drives me crazy.
Any further discussion on the high school handbook? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Next part, school calendar.
Yep, it's just a minor adjustment. And for the open house date, we noticed, and we missed this, I'll admit it, you know, all of us, the many people that look at the calendar and review for different dates, but we missed that. One of the open house dates of Memorial fell on Rosh Hashanah. And so we're just want to make sure that we get that changed before we start school year and get all the communications out. So we're just gonna have it on the same dates as Clough this year. And we typically don't, some years we've had them on the same night, we try to have them all like on different nights and we're able to, but we want to move that right away. Right, we just need a vote, since it's in the school calendar, we tend to have you vote on that.
Is there a motion?
I move to update the open house dates from elementary.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you for that.
Building committee and capital projects.
Okay, but come back up.
Yeah.
I almost thought of keeping you up there when you were there before. So as you know, we're gonna have a standing item on every one of our committee, school committee agendas for any updates relating to building committee, but also any capital project updates in general. I put it under new business tonight, but anyway, it'll be in there at some point. Let's see, a lot in here. It's really important to us to make sure that we have ongoing transparent communications about our projects. We're kind of kicking that off tonight and with this meeting, and then followed up with communications. I'll have some in our district newsletter that'll be going out this week. I usually send that out right before the start of school once I have all these dates to share with people. And we'll also have on the website, and I think I've talked about this before, but on the website, there'll be like an update section on our capital projects and also the minutes from our building meetings. We have been scheduled now going forward to meet as a building committee once a month, and that schedule's been put out to all the members. And we're gonna do it on Monday nights, like opposite school committee meetings at 6 o'clock. We will do some of those virtually for a while, just make it easy for the various members in the community. But if we need to have deeper discussions, we may move to, in-person meetings as needed. Let's see, if you click in the preliminary schedule there, we do have a schedule that was developed by Habib and Associates, which Jay put in there for you.
It's really, really good. This is exactly what we talked about.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
We did it all ourselves.
I can tell.
We need to have it now.
We did it while we were playing golf.
Yeah, there you go. It looks like what you have on whiteboard.
Yeah.
There's a little like, there are some questions that we can refine. There's things that, just to give an example, there were questions about the field.
We didn't have anything to do with this at all.
The field, just the Misco ball fields, and not practice ball fields. We wanted to know, well, when is the major field could be inducted?
Right.
Right.
We answered to
That's the
that.
top.
Yeah, it is. That's the very top.
Yeah,
So
but it's just the clarity of it can be improved.
Right.
The
Fields
format
be
does.
offline
Yeah.
But that's what
next to
that's what's intended,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
And this is just, as they stated, a preliminary
Right.
schedule, and then as we meet, we'll continue to refine and update and have it. We will put this up on the website as, one of the documents, and then update as we go. So it'll
And
be
there's also,
visible for
you're
everybody.
talking about having a comparable schedule that gives people guidance as to what fields can be in use for different activities.
Sure.
Both in the community and high school teams.
I mean, it will be somewhat difficult in that we have to prioritize our programs first as far as field use before we let them in the buildings as well, before we open it up to some other organizations. So I think some other organizations may have to look at alternatives as well.
Right.
Especially in the summer, where like this building potentially is going to be offline next summer.
Yeah, this building and the fields will be significantly impacted next.
Next
summer.
summer, right. But, at the same time, we have programs that we run for the district. They're going to take priority over outside organizations, regardless of their value to the community, because we need to prioritize the stuff that helps us out as well. So
The good news around that is that you'll start to see some actual facility changes.
Yeah.
What, the 27, 28
yes.
school year.
I think by opening of school a year from now, you will see some substantial changes even inside the buildings. I mean, we should be able to do a lot of the interiors this summer as well.
Yeah, cool.
But it's very preliminary. We're in the design phase right now. They're still working on documents and things move slower than I think we'd like them to. You know, sometimes I know other people that ask me questions, you know, well, is it done yet? You know, of course it is. It looks beautiful, but it takes time.
So the few updates, maybe we can run through quickly what's in the notes from the last meeting. We at for the EMS or the building management system, the energy management system installation at all 4 schools. We were saying this, tell me if any of this is inaccurate. This is from the notes. That MISCO is approximately 65 to 70% complete. Work continuing through the first day of school. Then the installations would move to Memorial and Clough pending the Green Communities grant, which we just got. So I can take out the funding, right? Or is that?
No,
pending
well,
with the
we do
timing
have
of
the
it,
grant,
or
but it's
is it-
still
yeah.
maybe, I don't know the process, so we have to talk with
Gotcha.
them.
All right. NITMUC will be delayed until next summer to align with HVAC equipment installation.
One thing on this Green Communities grant, we should give a lot of credit to Isabella Genova, I believe is her last name, who's a NITMA graduate, by the way, but she's the conservation agent for the town and work as the Green Communities coordinator for the town. She worked really hard with them to get this all in place,
Yeah.
met with us several times. She did very
Did a great
helpful.
job. Good to collaborate with her. For the roof, we had 2 site visits that were completed. The project's in the schematic design phase with a filing deadline in October and a final MSBA approval date in December. If you recall, MSBA has set meeting dates where they have votes of the group, and we have to meet specific deadlines leading up to those. The team plans to order HVAC equipment in late December, early January,
Yep.
with construction materials expected to arrive in April or May.
We had the generator as well. It's like, it was 12-month.
You know, I did not
We
put the
didn't,
generator
yeah.
in my notes because it makes me sad every time
Yeah, I
I
know.
hear that.
But it's a good thing to report on.
Yeah, no, we can add that in. Yeah, so the lead time on generators is about a year. So that's unfortunate, but eventually it will be here. The fields, anticipated construction for the MISCO Nipmuc front fields, including the concession storage building, would begin in June of this coming year and last through August of 2027. And the back field at Nipmuc would be constructed starting June 2027, continuing through 2028. Don't quote us on that because things can change, but that's our preliminary dates that they're targeting.
It's funny, I look at the dates and I think, how could it possibly take that long? At the same time, I know big projects take
A long
longer
time.
than you usually plan.
You got it. There's certain things you just have to do that, like, you know, when you're doing it at your house, it's different. You just go
Right.
out and do it, but you
Yeah.
just can't do it that way here. So it does take longer than we'd like it to, I think, in many ways.
Yeah. I think it'll be important too. I mean, I think this is great for the community to be able to see and understand, set some expectations, also keep people honest as we go through the project and see where we are as time goes on. But also keeping, you know, the building committee, making sure that if they need to vote on anything, they have a meeting, if it needs to come to school committee, that we
Yeah.
can vote on it
Yeah.
and not block anything
Exactly.
on our part.
For the OPM, we have a request for services is created and under review by building committee, by, you know, members, our reps, our other OPM, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're getting feedback and that will be posted and then it'll be put to the committee
I'm hoping to post that this week,
this week.
tomorrow, Wednesday. I just need to get it up on Central Register. Give them like 2 or 3 weeks to
I have to
respond.
say as well, that the members of the building committee are extremely knowledgeable and friendly and very effective. So it really is a pleasure to deal with them because they really are cross-checking everything. It really is, it's a good team.
I want to speak to the bottom.
Sure. So bond council, I've had a couple of conversations, well, for bond counsel is one piece, so I told you I had to submit hundreds of pages of stuff. I did hear back from them, I think, maybe it was Friday. I've been over the weekends. They're happy with everything, they're satisfied we did everything right, we're all set. So that's great, so that's one thing out of the way. That all had to do with how we voted on everything. It was that, did we follow all the proper regulations? I got paperwork from both towns, from our stuff, we're all set with that. As far as the actual borrowing, we have a meeting scheduled this Thursday with S&P because they have to re-rate us because we haven't been rated since 2012 or 14, somewhere in there when we did the last project. I included with you the last opinion they gave of us and the topics for discussion, which I was just reviewing. Most of them are relatively easy things that we just have to give them answers to, and then we should be able to get a decent rating. I'm not anticipating any problems at this point with any of that. The hope is that they can put together what they have to do for a borrowing. This committee has to authorize us to go out and do the borrowing, which will happen at your next school committee meeting. And then they put out an RFP as well. It's the same process, and they put it out to bid. As far as, I think we had a discussion about whether we do a 1-year ban or a full bond. Our financial advisors, their feeling is that you're not going to see rates at 2%, but it is a gamble to say, well, we could do the ban, but in a year, the rates could be 6% instead of the 3 or so that they are now. I'm still not 100% sure which way we're going with that. We still have to have some discussion on that, but they're thinking that we could probably get a rate of around 3 or 3 1/4, which would be a decent rate. Borrow a certain amount of money to get us through the first couple of years, and we have to show them the actual cash flow schedule, which I'm still working on putting together. That will be the initial borrowing to get us through, and then we probably have to do a second one afterwards. One of the discussion points with them is how do we structure the payments? Typically, our payments have always been interest in December, principal and interest in June. There's some discussion about maybe doing 2 principal payments, which reduce your interest payments as you move forward. The issue is that in order to pay that, we have to, assess the towns. We don't have, say, 50% of the principal in September necessarily. So the question is, do we have enough funds within our account to cover that until the town's money comes in? So we're still balancing that out as well. And they gave us a couple of payment structures, and we just have to look at all of that. All that's in the works. I mean, the first step is to deal with S&P on Thursday and get through that piece. We're going to set up a separate checking account for this project where all those funds will go outside of our operational account. I just have to work with the bank, because one of the things that can happen is if you get a loan at 3% or 3 1/4, you put it in an account that's giving you 4 1/4, that extra 1% is money you get to keep. You can put it toward the project, you can put it toward anything else. They call it arbitrage. Don't ask me where that word came from, but that's the word they use.
And is that similar to how the grant money works? Like if we got capital plan money and then got grant reimbursed, like for the EMS stuff, the green work stuff, is that essentially the same?
I'm not sure about that, or if they pay directly to the company. I'm not sure, because it's green communities, and I'm not sure how I forget how they've structured it. In the past, we've done some green community projects. They paid directly to the vendor. This may be different. I still have to figure that part out. But so, if we can get the money and put it in an account that's going to earn 4 or 4 1/4, we can make a little bit of extra, which offsets the interest payments. So I'm sure the bank will be, the bank's been very cooperative. They do pretty much anything that we ask. When we ask for it, they do everything they can to help us. So.
Any questions, guys, on council? Or any of the capital projects?
Lots is happening, but it's all behind the scenes, so it's not noticeable.
Keeping us busy.
All right. Moving on, school committee subcommittees, just as a reminder here, any have met it. Well, the building committee has met some, but the rest of them, just as a reminder, budget subcommittee with Eric, Sean, and myself. Policy subcommittee with Carrie, Vicky, and Matt. Negotiations, Eric, Vicky, and Carrie. Superintendent evaluations, Matt, Carrie, and Vicky. Capital planning, which is kind of turned into building committee, but there's Eric, Matt, myself. Golden Apple, it's everybody. And building committee, Sean. So. Don't believe there's any other matters not anticipated by the committee in 48 hours. Future agenda items, district action plans 25-26.